I'm barely familiar with, but others I'm more familiar with. But some of you had a class, yes. That's surprising. I didn't expect to see anybody out there in this class. That's great. Well, I guess I could safely represent the first half of this growing old. I'm not going to brag about the gracefully part, but I certainly am growing older. Yet I don't really feel old. I don't know how you're supposed to feel when you get old, but I don't feel old yet. There are a few things that you notice as the days come and go. If I get down, for example, if I stoop down like this to do something, work or something, fiddle around, there are days when I have to, take my hand and sort of help myself up like that. Then there are other days when, so you just notice a few physical things, and I've noticed also that my forgetter works overtime these days. I had to apologize yesterday for my forgetter, lack of remembering, and those things I guess are part of the picture. But I just have a few ideas on what I want to do, what I want to be as I am growing older. Somebody said that all of us want to live, we just don't want to get older. You can't have it both ways, can you? And we remember that the Bible has a lot to say about growing older and getting older. It talks about, one verse talks about rising up before the hoary head. And my head is getting about as hoary, I think, as it's going to get. It's frosty. Rise up before the frosty head. Well, there are some cultures where people do that, an older man. And I understand in Africa that the person with white hair, for example, is especially revered. Maybe I'll get a plane ticket there. And the Bible also says, teach us to number our days that we may get a heart of wisdom. I guess that simply says what some of the other verses say. Our life is like a hemlock. Life is like a tale that is told. And in the New Testament, James says, for what is your life? It is even a vapor that appears for a little time and then vanishes. At best, I don't think I've lived long. And here I turned that marvelous 70 on September the 11th. And I don't feel like I've lived very long at all. But it is not so much how long you live, it's how you live. Methuselah lived 969 years, right back when the air was pure, I suppose. There were no preservatives in food and things like that. But that's about all that's said about it. You could get some children, That's worth noticing, I guess. But that's about all that's said about Methuselah. But Jesus lived 33. And as one has said, all the armies that ever marched, all the navies that ever floated, all the parliaments that ever sat, have not affected the world like this one solitary life. Brief solitary life. So it's not how long you live that really counts. It's how you live, whether it's short or long. Relative. And short and long are relative. Like big and little are relative. Always relative. It's like riches. How much money you have to be rich? Nobody knows. Nobody's ever had enough. Nobody's ever had enough. Nobody's ever had enough. Well, I have just a few thoughts that I will share with you about. things that have been and are important to me as far as trying to live a full life, to live a life that has meaning. If you had been in any of my classes, you would have heard me quote one Henry David Thoreau. They call it Thoreau in New England, I suppose. That's the way you pronounce his name. His name is French. But you would have heard me quoting Henry David Thoreau a lot. And I sort of feel like that his book, Walden, which incidentally I have here in a new copy. I've subscribed to the Easton Press series. They're putting out a series of leather-bound publications, leather-bound books. This is a part of a series of the 100 greatest books ever written. And I'm not going to get all of them. I think I'm getting about 40 some of them, and I've got, I don't know, 25 or 30 already. And I have always been enamored of leather-bound books. There's something about the feel of leather that is just so very special. And you know, I treat my books with leather preservative, but you know the best oil for leather-bound books is found in the palm of your hand. That's why you notice old leather-bound Bibles last so long, because people hold them, and the best oil for treating leather is right in the palm of your hand. Well, anyway, you have heard me quoting Henry David Thoreau quite often. And Thoreau said, well, I think I'll just read it to you. That first section called Economy is probably the best secular commentary on the Sermon on the Mount that I know. But this is in this chapter of where I lived and what I lived for. And this is what he has to say. I went to the woods. You know, we went to the woods and built a cabin and took residence July the 4th. Had several prominent house raisers help him raise the wall, including Emerson. I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life, and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. I did not wish to live what was not life. Living is so dear. I did not wish to live what was not life. Living is so dear. Nor did I wish to practice resignation, grin and bear it, unless it was quite necessary. I wanted to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life, to live so sturdily and Spartan-like as to put to rout all that was not life, to cut a broad swath and shave close, to drive life into a corner and reduce it to its lowest terms. And if it proved to be mean, why then to get the whole and genuine meanness of it and publish its meanness to the world. Or if it proved sublime, to know it by experience and to be able to give a true account of it in my next excursion. I suppose that he must have drawn on his French in that I did not wish to live what was not life. Living is so dear. The French have an expression, très cher, or trop cher, too dear. The price of something is dear. And life is dear. I will never understand, I'll never understand why people become weary of life. I may, whenever I get so old that I can't raise a finger